everybody, Joe Brancato, the Airgun scientist here at the Skunk Works Lab. For today's video, I thought we'd do a comparison of the various models of FX rifles that are out there, a high level to let you know what are the different features, sizes, weights, and all that kind of stuff. So for the first rifle we're going to look at will be the Power Pup. Now, if you look at the Power Pup, it says right here it's a Dreamline. And basically what it started out was as a rifle, okay, that's usually out here, and they cut back the stock and turned it into what's called a bullpup. So a lot of people have heard this term before. Bullpup means that the action now comes all the way back to your shoulder. Okay, they cut that part of the wood off. The gun comes back. It's a lot shorter overall length. Then they remote the trigger. Okay, so that's how they did it on the Dreamline Power Pup. Now, they didn't remote the cocking lever. So the cocking lever is still back here. Okay, and it's doable. It's okay. I personally like it a little bit more up forward, but I mean, it's not a deal breaker. Okay. Features of the Power Pup. It comes stock with a 400cc aluminum bottle, but we also have 480 carbon fiber and 580 carbon fiber bottles available if you want to upgrade it. So basically it comes in either a 400 aluminum, 480, or a 580 carbon fiber. It has an 80cc power plenum, which is pretty cool because that's 10% more than the Impact. I'll do the Impact lastly, but that's a pretty significant amount, 80cc power plenum. So every gun in this video will be available in 177, 22, 25, or 30 caliber. And the Impact will also be available in 35 caliber. They also, every rifle will have a superior liner, which is their newest of liners. But you can always buy a liner for a pellet, a slug. We have all different kinds of liners out there. It has a 11 millimeter dovetail scope rail. It has the amp regulator, like we said before. And it has power adjustments here for low, medium, high. Usually you do like 22, 25, and 30. And then the multi-adjuster here. So that's how you adjust the power, the Dreamline Power Pup. This is your hammer. This is your airflow. This is your fill port. And your amp regulator is up in here. 2 gauges, one for regulated, one for tank pressure. The weights, this one should be about 6 pounds, 8 ounces or so. Overall length is roughly 37.5 inches, and the scale is now showing 6.86 ounces, so 6.5 pounds. These magazines are a little bit similar to the Crown. They're available in the larger counts. It depends, again, on the caliber. So that's the Dreamline Power Pup. So our next model will be the Wildcat Mark III. So that's the third iteration. And this is the 700 millimeter sniper version. Length overall, let's take a look while that's weighing up. 700 is 35 inches. The weight, 6 pounds 8, 6.5 pounds. It comes in 500, 600, and 700 millimeter barrels. And they all come with superior liners. Again, like all the other rifles in FX line, 177, 22, 25, and 30 caliber. The air tube is 300 cc's. They increased it for the sniper. It's 300 cc's, 230 bar. This is your primary pressure in your air tank. This is the secondary pressure after the regulator. So it is fully adjustable. The regulator is adjusted right here. And the one nice thing that I like about the Wildcat is now you're kind of paying a little more for it, but you're getting something too. You're forward cocking instead of back here. Now you're up here, which is a little bit more natural. You can kind of go bang, bang, bang much easier. It has the Picatinny rail, which a lot of people like because there's some pretty snazzy items in addition to a scope you can mount up here. Available in 500, 600, and 700 millimeter barrels. Now, our third model is the Maverick. We're starting to take a step up. It too is a bullpup, like the prior 2 guns. The Maverick, again, a bullpup. The action goes way back here. See the magazine? It's all the way back here against my shoulder. That shortens down the overall length. You can put a longer barrel on it. By the way, a longer barrel does not make you more accurate, folks. It gives you more shots and or more power, or both. The idea being the pellet or slug can dwell longer in the barrel, so it has time to speed up. If it has time to speed up, I can now use less air to get it to a certain speed versus a short barrel. I get more shots. Or with a longer barrel, I might get more power. But you're not going to necessarily get more accuracy. So with the Maverick, we're taking a nice step up. What is one of the steps? Well, the first thing is it has a pair of regulators now, not just one. What does that do for you? Well, when you have one single regulator back here, regulating, or no, actually it's up here, regulating the air to the power plenum, you can't really fill this past 250 bar or you're really beating the snot out of the regulator. It's a big deal because with these bigger power plenums, we don't need as much pressure after the regulator. So you might have it set at 80 bar for a 22 caliber, okay? But if you've got 250 bar here, that's a big swing from 250 to 80 bar. So now we can put a second regulator in here, up front, up in here. Now that knocks it down to say 150 bar or whatever it's at and takes it easier on this. Now I can put a 300 bar bottle on here, okay? Something like this. Again, a 300 bar, 580 cc, that's a lot more air. So one of the features, the dual regulators, allows a little bit more consistency. One regulator isn't doing everything now. One regulator is always seeing a fairly consistent input to it, 150 bar, more or less. Though you don't care how much the first regulator here varies. If it goes up 10 or down 10, who cares? It's only going into the next regulator. It's the next regulator, the final one, that we want to be really accurate. And now it doesn't have as much of a fluctuation for the input. So that's the beauty of two regulators. And more consistency, and also able to take that higher pressure bottle because now, again, that first regulator can take the brunt of the 300 bar, knock it down to something consistent to say like 150. This gun is also available in 500, 600, and 700 millimeter. The barrels will dictate what bottle come with it, but we can always make a custom. But typically with 700s, you get 580. With 600s, you get 480. And with the 500s, you typically would get a metal bottle. But we can change that to even a 300. This one, the first regulator adjusts up here. The second regulator adjusts here. Picatinny rail. So let's take a look. Length overall is 36 inches with the 700 millimeter barrel. And the weight is 7 pounds, 6.5, 7 pounds, 7 pounds, 6. So it kind of gives you an idea of the compactness of it. And that's with the 580 cc bottle and a 700 millimeter barrel, which is about as big, which is as big as you're going to get right now. The power plenum is the same as on the Impact. That's the 72 or the 720 power plenum. Cool beans on that. And that's just about all the features that we're going to go over. Again, Picatinny's here on the sides, so you can mount your flashlight, your laser rangefinder, your 3D decoder ring, whatever there is. One of the things I love about the Maverick and the Impact, a male quick disconnect instead of a probe. You know how I feel about probes, guys? You lose them, gals too. Once you have a quick disconnect, life is so much easier. So that is the FX Maverick. It's kind of like the little brother to the Impact. Some people call it a marriage between the Impact and the Wildcat. And it does have some Wildcat features like this adjustment here. There's an adjuster here, and there's also a micro adjuster there. So that's where the micro adjuster is on the Maverick. And that's also where it is on the Wildcat. Next up, the FX Crown. Now this is a really fantastic gun. It's going to be the oddball in the group because it's the only one that's not a bullpup. It's a full-length rifle, and hence looks like a full rifle. Okay, now it comes in either black with a carbon fiber, black with an aluminum, and that's called the Crown. And then you can get it in 2 barrel lengths for like not much more. You can get it with 2 barrel lengths, not necessarily with the stock, but the Continuum will come with a 300 and a 700 millimeter barrel. So then you can have a nice short barrel like this for backyard plinking, having fun, or you can get the 700 millimeter. You've got some power that you can generate if you're going to go shooting in a match. Okay. Now let's go over some of the features of the Crown. The power is adjusted here. This is basically caliber specific, low, medium, high, 22, 25, 30. Again, this is available in 177, 22, 25, and 30. Carbon fiber 480, carbon fiber 580, and aluminum 400. The 700 comes with the 580, the 600 and the 500 come with the 480. Call us, we can swap things around for you though. It's got the quick change barrel system. So if you do want to change, if you bought the Crown Continuum, which has the 2 barrels, it's just a matter of changing the 2 screws here and here. Unlike in the old days, you had to take these screws out, which meant half the time, or if not all the time, you had to remove the scope. A really nice design. In the plastic, it's quite light. The laminate though is much more beautiful. I gotta admit, I'm a wood guy, so it is what it is. But if you're going to beat it, knock it around. One thing I haven't mentioned yet with any of the FX, but they're all fantastic triggers, extremely light. I call it a quasi two-stage trigger. Technically, you can't tell the difference. When you pull it, it's light, and then it goes off, which feels like a two-stage trigger. I'll leave it at that. I won't go into more details than that. But the triggers are very nice, match grade. Easy to change the power for different pellets, or if you're shooting inside a barn or something like that. Or if you, let's say you have the 700 millimeter shooting really hot, and you want to go inside your barn and nail some pigeons, you put the shorter barrel on, you crank down this knob down here, and if you want, you could even crank that down and get it that it's barely spitting out the pellet. And then you can shoot inside your barn. You don't go through your metal roof or something like that. Laminate, synthetic, various barrel lengths, various bottles. Our last rifle will be the FX Impact. This is their flagship. This is the one everybody seems to gravitate towards too, even though these four are fantastic rifles. The Impact is a pretty cool gun I like myself. So what are the features I like about it? Okay, let's take a look. First of all, it has the large 72cc or 720 plenum. It's available in 177, 22, 25, 30, and 35 caliber. So it's putting out some power. You can get this thing to put out a lot of power. Comes in 500, 600, 700 millimeters, and in 35 caliber, it actually comes in 800 millimeter. But again, it's a bullpup. So that length is mostly taken up because it's a bullpup. It's not so long. So let's go through the weight first. 7 pounds 2, and length overall is 34-ish. The 500 millimeter barrel comes with typically a 300 cc carbon fiber bottle. Though we have put the 480s and the 580s on it, it looks kind of slick. The 600 typically comes with the 480, and the 700 comes with the 580 carbon fiber. All three carbon fibers. It doesn't come with aluminum. You've got the weights, you've got the measurements. Again, it's got the Picatinny, but the things that are nice about this gun, okay, so you've got the dual regulators. You've got the one regulator that you set here, and the other regulator, the fine regulator. How does this work? Okay, this was the original regulator. This was here. This set the pressure in the power plenum. This told you what each shot would get. If you want to put a 300 bar bottle, or you want to get more consistency even, instead of making this pressure go from, let's say you have this set at 80 bar for a 22 cal, and you fill this all the way up to 250, that's a 250 to 80 swing. That's 170 bar delta. That's a big difference for a regulator to do and be consistent. So what they do is they add the second regulator, okay, which is on this side. Well, the gauge is here. The regulator is adjusted inside. Now you set this, it'll be set from the factory at about 150. It doesn't really matter because it's always going to be, let's say 150, going into the regulator, the second regulator. And that's the beauty of it. This second regulator now is always just seeing 150. And then when it goes from 150 down to 80, not a big swing, okay? But here's the other beauty. Now you can put a 300 bar bottle on here, which we have in stock. So now instead of a 250 bar, you can put a 350 bar. It's going to be knocked down to 150 here. You really couldn't have done it with the Mark 1s and Mark 2s earlier with a 300 bar bottle because it was just too much pressure swing, especially now with the power plenum, making it that you don't need 110 bar to shoot a 22. You only need like 80. So you got a lot of pressure swing now from what the bottle can do to what this regulator goes down to. This middle regulator takes care of that. This knob here, it's kind of like a rebound or a hammer stop. So I'll show you all the adjustments. When you adjust it, first thing, don't adjust it. We're going to have this gun shooting like 900 feet a second beautifully. I'll leave it at that. Bottom line, it'll be shooting at 900. Why? Because this regulator will be set up properly. This regulator will be set up properly. There's also this hammer adjustment here, okay, that allows you to increase your, and this is a quick and dirty way to set your power if you're shooting inside a barn, again, or backyard. You just don't need the power. And then this is a fine adjustment here. This one here, what this does is when the hammer hits the valve, instead of the valve overshooting, this stops it. This is like an over travel limit. So it's got a little rubber ball in here, and that stops the hammer from going too, or that stops the valve from going too far. And it's for consistency, not power. You set it up. We set it up. We set this up. There's a lot of things. There's two different regs, a hammer, a fine tune, and this limiter. Please don't readjust it. Go, oh, I went on a video and Joe Blow said to turn this, twist that, and do that. Please, no, don't do this. Okay, so that's it. Picatinny rail. You got the weights, you got the dimensions, 177, 22, 25, 30, and 35 cal. Oh, by the way, all of the FX rifles are 1/2" 20. Some of the impacts in 35 cal will be a little different, but we have the proper suppressor for those as well. But if you get most will fit a 1/2" 20, as this does. So that's about it. This is Joe Brancato, the Airgun Scientist, saying shoot safely. Oh, please remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Cheers.